Okay, well, welcome everybody to Prader-Willi California Foundation's residential staff training. We're going to be specifically focusing on behavior management interventions. So we're going to, we may touch on some of the physiology and some of the environmental basics, but we're going to skip most of that information, the physiology and the environmental basics, because you have that on a prior recording. And we're going to start at the empathy, the neurological, neurocognitive interventions that we need to know when we're working with somebody and living with somebody who has Prader-Willi syndrome. So we're jumping in here now to our empathy as intervention. If you have questions, you can unmute yourself if you're on mute already and jump in. If I know that we're going to be covering the answer to that, I'll let you know that. If we're not going to cover the answer to that, then we'll stop right there and address your question. Okay, so empathy is intervention. Empathy is a critical intervention with when it comes to working with somebody with Prader-Willi syndrome. It's the ability to see another person's perspective, understand and share the feelings of another. And I've seen through this resident's the behavior intervention program plan that you guys have done a lot of work on empathy. So I'm really glad to see that. We just want to make sure that you're working with empathetic responses to the degree that you can be. But I was really happy to see that you're doing that already, because people with Prader-Willi syndrome don't have the ability to see things from anybody else's perspective other than their own most of the time. So we have to see things from her perspective in order to help manage the interactions we have with her more successfully. So here, I love this cartoon because we've got the individual with Prader-Willi syndrome saying it's a 9, it's a 9. And you as providers say, well, honey, it's a 6. It's really a 6. No, it's a 9. No, it's a 6. You're in a major power struggle and you will never win this power struggle because she's, for multiple reasons, but until you start to see things from her perspective, oh, I see, you see a 9. Now we can start to figure out how we manage this interaction a little better. So empathy gets to the core of anxiety, disappointment, or frustration. It gets you out of the power struggle. It's a 6. No, it's a 9. No, it's a 6. And it puts you and the individual with the syndrome on the same team, working for the same goal. And that's why it's so successful. At its most basic form, an empathetic response is simply repeating the exact words that she is using, right? You think X. I get it. You think X. What a bummer is another more sophisticated but actual way of expressing empathy. What a disappointment. It's not fair. That's not fair. Most people with the syndrome are really big fairness people, right? So when you're explaining or expressing the unfairness of things, yeah, it's not fair. You're right. The other residents get to do this and you aren't getting to do that. That's not fair. You're not necessarily agreeing, but you're really putting yourself in her situation where it doesn't feel fair to her at all. I get it. It's not fair to you at all. I get it.
I have an example. The other day, she wanted a necklace on. I had to go to her room, get it exactly. So it was plenty big enough to put over her head. But then she goes, the fastener. No, the fastener. And she was very clear I needed to undo the fastener, even though it fit. So we have to hear what she says, how she wants to do it.
Yes.
So that was a kind of a good example, I think.
Yeah. Because there may be some history about people have tried to put something over her head and it's broken. So she may be really concerned. Now, you may not know it, right?
Right.
So
Right.
you may not understand what it is she's saying, but Lisa, what you're expressing is, oh, so we have to really, okay, so what about the fastener? What is it about the fastener, honey? What do you need? The fastener. Yes, tell me
I
about the fastener.
understood. Yep, I understood what she needed for me to do. Yeah.
Perfect, perfect. Because when she feels listened to, and a little more understood, she's typically not going to turn the volume up of her upset. She's going to be reducing her upset because she knows she doesn't need to turn it up. You already get it in some way. And when people understand it, when people feel more understood, like the other person is getting it, they're not going to yell louder or become more aggressive. And that's how we know they are feeling a little bit more understood, that the volume is turned down. Okay, because once she feels like she's being understood a little bit more, there's less need for her to get more aggressive to get you to understand her. She understands that. So only after she's begun to reduce her upset are you even going to start to insert your concern or what you would like to see happen. And empathy, again, is critical to reducing the anxiety, the disappointment, and the frustration that the individual is feeling at any one time. Don't try to talk this resident out of her upset, because all she's going to feel is that you don't understand why she's upset. So if she's expressing upset about something, that the fastener, if you're responsive, it's okay, honey, I got it covered. We don't need to undo the fastener. If you hear anything from her other than, oh, okay, thanks you for letting me know, you're going to put it over my head and there's no problem, then go directly to empathy, repeating or expressing that you understand what she's upset about. Don't use logic and reasoning. Honey, we don't really have to undo the fastener in order to put this over your head. It's going to fit just fine. Again, if she doesn't say, oh, okay, thanks for letting me know, then don't try to use logic and reasoning to convince her that she's wrong. You're right. It'll go right over her head, because she will focus on the fact that you're telling her she's wrong. And as we'll see later, most people with Prader-Willi syndrome cannot tolerate being told they're wrong or having you believe that they're wrong. So that's only going to increase her upset. So just use empathy. Okay, fastener. All right. So there's something with the fastener I got to get. So you figured you've got to help me understand that. Again, don't engage in a power struggle, because anything where you're not getting through the problem, you just keep repeating the problem, is clue that you're in a power struggle. And disagreements will only escalate. Sometimes it's okay to say, okay, I get it. I really do understand that you want X and I want Y. Okay, so hey, I'll say one more thing, and then you say one more thing, and then let's talk about something else. And then literally don't say another word. Let her have the very last word, literally the last word. Don't argue with this resident, because you are never going to win. You're constrained by logic and reasoning. But this resident has Prader-Willi syndrome, and most people with Prader-Willi syndrome aren't constrained by logic and reasoning, right? They might say things like, well, the chocolate cake got on I didn't eat the chocolate cake. Somebody ran by and put it on my face. That's why you see chocolate cake on my face, but I didn't eat it, right? Of course, that's not logical and it's not reasonable. We know that, but she doesn't. And so we must use empathy. Okay. I understand. We need to do some kind of a job to make sure that you're safe. And I noticed that verbiage all through your behavior plan, working to keep you safe. We're doing this to work to keep you safe. That's very nice. Distraction after empathy can be very effective. So that if you're having a conversation about something that's really not going anywhere, right? And maybe you've tried that, I'm going to say one, or maybe you haven't even, it's not appropriate to say, I'm going to say one more thing, you say one more thing, then let's talk about something else. Maybe you do something like, I get it. It's really not fair that they went to go, get coffee, and that was during your time to do something else, and you don't get coffee, and that's just not fair. And oh my gosh, did you see the painting that they put up on that wall? Was that there yesterday? So you're using empathy followed by a distraction to get her to switch her attention to something else. And sometimes that can be very helpful. And I think a lot of you are doing that already, to use distraction. Our next intervention is called paint the picture. Knowing what to expect in the future reduces anxiety, and anything that reduces anxiety reduces the potential for an unwanted behavior. So we want you to paint the picture before you're entering any new situation or any situation, period. Explaining in detail what's going to happen next, what things are going to look like, expectations for behavior, what the plan is going to be if there's any unwanted behavior, what you're going to do as staff, what the other residents might do as residents. All of that is painted so that she understands what to expect, and it's kind of a picture in her head. There's no detail too great in this painting the picture. And if you are painting the picture too great in detail, she's going to let you know, I got it. You don't need to go on anymore. I've had lots of people say, okay, I get it. You understand. And then we know we're good to go. But we definitely want to use paint the picture before we're going to any restaurants. And there's, again, no detail too great when we're talking about what's going to be served, how it's going to be served, how many of this we get, how many of that we won't get. Changes in schedule are really important to paint the picture for, depending upon how in advance this resident can tolerate changes in the future, right? You're going to be really timing the changes for, or letting her know about changes in the future. Changes in staff. Hey, so-and-so called in sick today and they're not going to be here. Changes in residents. Is there a new resident going to be moving in, or is somebody moving out? All of this needs to be taken into consideration. So you're timing that appropriately with her as you let her know that. Again, giving too much advance notice to somebody with Prader-Willi syndrome can create way too much anxiety. Not giving enough notice can create way too much anxiety. Again, anything that creates anxiety has the potential to cause a behavior problem. So that's why we're focused on anxiety. So finding the sweet spot isn't always easy, but it's really important that you learn that and fill in other staff about the sweet spot for advance notice of things to be changing. Anticipate that what you do or what happens this time, she's going to expect that's going to happen next time, good or bad. That's what she's going to anticipate is going to happen next time. And if it's something that she wanted to have happen and it doesn't, she's going to be disappointed unless we fix it first. Which brings us to our next intervention, fix a past goof. Again, anything that happened in the past is expected to have happened in the future. So if something that happened in the past needs to change, it's critical that we give her advance notice for that change and what that change is going to look like. Okay, so we fix a past goof by painting a new picture and creating appropriate future expectations. So the guidelines for this are, you bring up the issue that needs fixing. Okay. Hey, remember the last time y'all went to the pier and you got to have a churro, right? Well, and then incorporate empathy. That was pretty good, wasn't it? You got to have a churro last time, right? Yeah. Then you preface the fix with the benefit to the individual. Well, we always want to do what's best for you because we really care about you. And last time you had a churro, that we know that's not healthy. And plus it kind of upset your stomach a little bit, but more than that, it's just not healthy for you. And then you introduce the fix. So this time when we go to the pier, we will not be getting a churro. As a matter of fact, we're not going to be getting any food whatsoever when we go to the pier because that's not healthy for you.
Can we get
Roslyn,
another option?
sorry?
Can she have another option that we could know that she could have?
Sure. So you are now talking about giving her some other preferred choice options. So this time when we go to the pier, we're not going to get a churro. This time when we go to the pier, we're going to get a frozen yogurt. So do you want blueberry frozen yogurt or strawberry frozen yogurt? Okay.
So, yeah. So, Lisa,
Yeah.
when would be the best time to discuss this or the fix a path? What would be the best?
Yeah, so it depends, right? It depends on the circumstances. So that little scenario, let me come back a little bit here. This scenario where I said, remember last time you went to the pier,
Mhm.
got a churro? That actually is based on a real life event that happened in my life with my son when he was very young, I don't know, 6, 7 years old.
Uh-huh.
Immediately, we fixed the goof because I said, "Oh my gosh, the other mom got you a churro. Well, that wasn't very healthy for you, right?" So just so you know, in the future, we will not be getting a churro when we go to the pier. So I immediately fixed that past goof. That was when my son was like, I don't know, 7, 8. My son is 23. You know that when we go to the pier now, he still will say, "Hey, remember when little boy's Nana got me a churro?" And I say, "Yes." There's a little bit of hope in that. Remember when we got that churro? And I say, "Yes, I remember that. That was a really exciting time you got that churro." Kind of upset your stomach. But this time, like every other time, we will not be getting a churro. So every single time, I do have to fix that past goof. So it does depend. So you may want to paint the picture before the next time you go to the pier. Hey, just as a reminder, remember, we're not going to be getting a churro. We're going to be getting something else, though. You're going to get your choice of this or this. What do you think we're going to have? Okay. So
Thanks.
it does depend. It's either you fix the past goof immediately after you found the goof that has occurred, and then you're going to maybe even remind her of what it's going to be next time. Does that help, Rosalind?
Yes. Thank you.
Yep. So here we are. We're going to have another fix the past goof sample dialogue, right? So you're a brand new staff. And at your very first group outing to the mall, you want to make a great first impression. So you let everybody get a chocolate covered banana on a stick because, bananas are healthy, right? You now know the individual in your care should not be having a chocolate covered frozen banana. So how do you fix this past goof?
Don't do it.
Don't do it, right?
For any,
Don't do it to begin with. But
yes.
we've goofed because we didn't really know, and we all goof, but we really want to focus on never goofing when it comes to food. But this is a rare disorder. It's very hard to really wrap your head around, especially if you're a new staff coming in. What's the problem with a banana, frozen banana, right? Well, and it doesn't have chocolate on it even, right? So bananas are healthy. What's the problem with this, you might think, as a new staff? Well, first of all, it's a food treat. So that is a problem, and we're going to have to fix it. Bananas are high, they're delicious. And one of the reasons they're so delicious is because it's high sugar. So we've got to fix that. And even if it had 0 calories, potentially it could be a problem because this resident now thinks she can manipulate you to give her treats. There's a whole myriad of reasons why this is no bueno. But we all goof every now and again. So when we do, we're going to have to fix it directly, clearly, not sugarcoating it with no food pun intended. So how do we do that, right? Remember the last time we went to the mall and I let y'all have a chocolate banana? It was, we prefaced the fix. It was delicious, wasn't it? Empathy. It must have been a great surprise. Now I know chocolate covered bananas aren't really healthy for you. So empathy. So this time when we go, we're not going to get a chocolate covered banana because that's not really healthy. Empathy. So again, you're going to get your choice, right? You want a strawberry or blueberry or whatever it is the preferred choice option is. That's what you're going to be sharing with this resident. Even if it's, so we're not going to have anything at the mall to eat. We will have our snack when we come home. Okay. Any questions on that before we go to preferred choice, win-win? Any questions? Yes.
I have a question. So, like you said, we just found out after we have given her the choice that the banana chocolate is not good for her. So how do we fix it immediately? We just let it go this time?
Well, that again is going to depend, right? If she's like most people with Prader-Willi syndrome, you can't fix it in the moment. It's not like you said, okay, we're going to have a chocolate covered banana. Maybe you could get with, oh my gosh, you know what? It just occurred to me. I don't know what I was thinking. We're not going to be able to get food. I'm really, really sorry. I just spoke. I made the biggest goof ever. We're not having any food today when we go to the mall. Oh my gosh, what a disappointment that must be for you. Go immediately into empathy, what she may be thinking. Wow, that's not fair that I just talked out loud about getting it. And now I'm saying we're not going to be able to get it. Okay. So you can do it that way. Now, go that route and she starts having a temper tantrum. You're going to have to live through the temper tantrum. Okay. Because we cannot give into her temper tantrum if we're going down the road of fixing the goof in the moment. We have to live through the temper tantrum because if we don't, what we're teaching her is you can try to fix the past goof, but if she has a temper tantrum, you're going to give in. And that's the worst possible thing, is to give in for a temper tantrum. Okay. So if you've given her the banana, you're going to have to make a judgment call. If she's got the banana in her hand or whatever it is, you probably are going to say it in the moment. Oh my gosh, it just occurs to me I've goofed. You can eat the banana this time, but holy moly, what a goof I just did. We're going to have to, paddle my popo, but we're not going to do this again. I just want you to know this, but this is my bad. Hey, you own it clearly. Does that help?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. There was another hand.
Lisa?
Well, thinking the staff really, it's a bottom line would be the staff should have, of course, known that. Even the new staff have to know, what's going on before they even get themselves in that situation. But I understand what you're saying.
Yes. You know what? Lisa's absolutely correct. When you're starting working with somebody with Prader-Willi syndrome, the errors that you make really cannot be around food. Because if you err once on food, you have set yourself up for what we call the weakest link, L-I-N-K. And that is the worst position to be in as a staff person, because you'll be the target of her manipulating in the future. You'll be the target because she knows you forget. You're the weakest link. So, and it really creates a boatload of anxiety for this resident and problems in behavior for a long time to come. One goof right now around food can cause weeks if not months of behavior problems, bad behavior problems. So yes, while I like to, remind y'all we are human, please be extra
Careful.
superhuman when it comes to food.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
Moving.
Lisa,
Yes.
I know you were mentioning about not giving in to tantrums. Can you please elaborate that? Because that's what we always see around in the house for caregivers' sake, who are
Yeah.
always into that one.
Yeah. So actually that kind of fits in here with fix a past goof, because if you are a caregiver who has given into a past temper tantrum, you have to fix that past goof of giving in, because otherwise her expectation is all she has to do is yell louder, scream more, get more verbally abusive, get more physically aggressive, and she'll get you to give in for food again. So a fix a past goof in this case might sound like, honey, in the past, I have given in, haven't I? When you've yelled or wanted more food and had a temper tantrum, and I'm always very specific about what a temper tantrum looks like. When you've yelled at me, when you've sworn at me, when you've pushed me, when you've kicked me, when you pulled my hair, when you've broken things, right? Be very specific. When in the past, when you've called me names when I haven't given you something, I kind of gave in, didn't I? And that is really, I've learned, terrible for you. That is just the worst possible thing for you. And I always want to do what's best for you, honey. So in the future, I want you to know that from now on, no matter what you do, no matter how many bad names you call me, no matter how physically aggressive you get, oh, sorry, that's my dog in the door. The care provider just came. So I'm sorry.
That's okay.
No, he's a little dog with a mighty, ferocious, loud, obnoxious bark. Hopefully it stops in a minute. No matter how verbally aggressive or physically aggressive you get, honey, I will not give in. Okay, and I'm sorry.
Do you have the mute button on?
I can't even put myself on mute. Oh gosh. Hold on.
We'll let the dog go.
Let me let him downstairs so he'll.
And we could bring a cooler and stuff to with their food if we're going to be gone a while, right?
Sorry, say again.
We could bring a cooler with their special food, sometimes, right? And
oh yeah,
absolutely.
Absolutely. And you're going to let her know that. Did I finish the how to fix a past goof giving into a temper tantrum?
No.
Okay, so it sounds like in the past, when you've wanted more food or extra food and you have yelled at me, I gave in, didn't I? I gave you more food. And I've learned that's really bad for you. That's a terrible thing to do for you. And I always want to do what's best for you. So I want you to know that in the future, I'm going to fix that. No matter what you say, no matter how verbally aggressive you get with me,
I will not
no matter
listen.
how physically aggressive you get, I will not give in anymore, because I always want to do what's best for you.
Straight it up.
Okay, that is a fix the past goof. Okay, if you have a staff who just can't do that, if you have a staff that just can't not give in, that staff should not be working with this resident.
Correct.
And some people are just
No,
the
it's a no.
softest. They just can't do that, right? They just can't. So
Yeah.
that's fine. You know, just like somebody with Prader-Willi syndrome, we can't change other people, right? But we do put them in the place where their strengths are. And this person will undermine this person, the person that your resident with Prader-Willi syndrome, they'll undermine her feelings of safety, security, and you will have behavior problems all over the place that won't get better. Okay? It is critical to fix those past goofs and not make new goofs in regard to giving in, especially for food. Giving in for other things also can be problematic, but especially for food. Questions about that? Because we can kind of brainstorm. We'll keep going if you want, but we can brainstorm. Well, what if she's asking for a pencil? And I said, no. What do I do now? Right? She's not asking for food. Can I give in for a pencil? It's ridiculous, right? Anybody have thoughts about that? What do you think?
Sharp object. I have a real thing actually that happened lately, that I bought a sensory light for another client, and she said, "Oh, I'd love to have that. You know, I love that. I said, "Oh, okay. This is for Steven for now." But I think she also felt bad because I didn't give that choice that she can have all one. So it didn't create any behavior. She accepted it, but I know there should be a better response that I should have done.
I don't know that there's a bit. That's so and so's. That's not yours. Period. Or that's so and so's. That's not yours. Is that something you're interested in pursuing and researching and seeing if it's something you would like? Sure. Maybe there's a way to you can work toward it, or sure. But I think you handled it fine.
Okay.
If you would not have handled it fine if you said, well, this is so and so's, and she said, but I want it, and you said, okay, well, you can have it, but you got to give it back. That wouldn't be okay, because I think there needs to be very clear boundaries around this is that residence. This is not yours. Right?
Yeah.
And everybody gets to have access to their own stuff and protect it themselves. This resident and every other resident.
Yeah, I have an example. Because I bring things in for her from my house, like I have a lot of toys and stuff for my grandkids and stuff.
Yep.
So I'll bring her different options. Likes to have different options. So sometimes she'll say, I really like that. I had all these animals she made out of puzzles. It was really cool. And she goes, I really like that. Can I have it? I said, well, they're my grandkids, but let me see. There's so many. I said, you could have one. And then she goes, thank you. And then later, as time went on, she goes, oh, I like this one too.
No.
And oh, that is nice too. I like that. They're both so nice. I said, you could have a choice between that one or that one, but because these are mine and my grandkids' stuff. So she totally accepted that and was really good about it. So
yeah.
There was another example. I said, well, maybe we could order, see about if you like this, maybe we could look into ordering you one online. Let's look into that.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, what if she said, oh, I like that. Can I have it? And it wasn't okay for her to have, but I want it.
I said, these are my grandkids' stuff. I mean, things. And she has accepted that.
Yes. But what if she said, but I want it? She doesn't accept it. How do you manage that?
Well, and I mean, then we're into that. There's a trouble zone that I'm like, I'm sorry that if I upset you by bringing these things, something like, I don't know. It's hard to say no.
What a bummer.
Oh, yeah.
I said, no, you can't have that. What a bummer. This isn't yours to have. And you really want it. go to empathy.
Mm.
What a disappointment.
Yeah.
Pull out, what a bummer. Kids, we have a camp that we run every year. Well, we did till COVID, right? And kids made, and adults, and the parents made fun of me because I would get
What
on
a
the phone
bummer.
constantly by saying, what a bummer.
What a bummer.
What a bummer.
What a bummer.
Such a
Okay.
Yeah.
So pull out empathy. You know
Mm.
what, honey? I'm so proud of you that you asked me, can I have it? And what a bummer that must be for you to hear, nope, this is my kids. Don't offer yet until you see her going, oh, okay, to problem solve it, right? If you go too fast into, do you want to buy it or do you want to, if you go too fast into problem solving, now nothing you say is going to be okay.
You're right.
Stay with empathy till she calms down, and then maybe problem solving isn't even necessary.
Because she likes everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hoarder.
That she can be a hoarder. That
Yes.
that's her history also. That
Yes.
yes.
Baby dolls, buggies, if memory serves, baby
Yeah.
buggies. Yeah.
She doesn't have room for a whole bunch of stuff.
Nope. And this was an issue that we actually worked with on. She can't go to more. This is sidetracking here, but what we kind of talked about was you want more baby buggies, but there's no room in your room for more baby buggies or babies, right? So you can, if you want more baby buggies, then we donate one baby buggy somewhere. And then we have room for another. And that was a huge negotiation, some strategy that we did back then.
That's what I have to do.
Yeah, because it can be, it is not, it actually, just so you guys know, it is not hoarding disorder. It is not hoarding disorder. It can't be. I think by definition, DSM says if it's Prader-Willi syndrome, it's not hoarding disorder. Because it's Prader-Willi syndrome. But it, because she's perfectly fine with it. It just, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We'll keep going. Doing the win-win preferred choices. So this is where I want you guys, in empathy is our go-to. Preferred choices is where you're going to be pulling out in your back pocket all over the place too. Why? Because Prader-Willi syndrome causes oppositionalism. Neurocognitively, Prader-Willi syndrome causes oppositionalism. It's part and parcel of the disorder. They go hand in hand. The brain's automatic reaction is typically to respond with no. And so that looks like oppositional, defiant, and argumentative behavior. So how do we manage that? We avoid yes, no questions. Do you want to give away one of your baby buggies in order to get another one? No. Well, why not, honey? I know you want another one. So why don't you give one of those away? No. Okay? You're not going to get anywhere. Offer win-win preferred choices to reduce her oppositionalism and improve her cooperation. Make everything her choice within your preferred choice boundaries. What that does is twofold. It gives her the experience of having more control in her life while you're giving her boundaries and she's keeping within those boundaries. This is critically important for everybody with Prader-Willi syndrome who have such little control of their life in general. So there, that need to control is much greater for those individuals who've always been told, do this, do this, do this, do this, right? And once we start giving them preferred choices within your boundaries, not only does it improve decision-making skills, but it increases the experience of internal control of her world. And that's what we want, because very often internal experience of control reduces outside, the need to control outside everything else. So do you want to wear the red jacket or blue jacket? Do you want to wear your jacket or do you want to carry your jacket? You want me to carry it or do you want to just throw it in the van? Are you going to get up, clean up now or at the next commercial, right? Everything can be a preferred choice. I make a joke about it, but I teach it now because even things that sound like you can't make a choice can be made a choice. For instance, when my son was younger, I said, Cameron, Mommy goofed. All we have for breakfast for cereal is Cheerios. So do you want Cheerios or Cheerios? And he thought for a minute. And he said, I think I'll have Cheerios. And I said, great choice. He was dead serious. But his experience was he got to make that choice. Everything could be made a choice. Even if the choice is, well, honey, you said you want orange juice, but we don't have orange juice. So do you want 0 calorie Snapple or water? Well, I want orange juice. I know you want orange juice. I love orange juice. Empathy. But our choices are, do you want water or sugar-free Snapple? I want orange juice. I know orange juice is delicious. Honey, you don't have to have anything to drink. You don't have to have anything to drink.
You don't
That's
say
a
you don't
choice.
have orange juice.
Say again?
You don't say we don't have orange juice.
Well, it won't. You can say that, sure. We don't even have orange juice.
Okay.
So do you want Snapple or water? If for many people with the syndrome, if you're going down the road of rational, well, then run to the store and get it. Okay, now you're in a power struggle. Okay.
Not an option. Yeah.
You know what, honey, I that's a really brilliant idea. We could run to the store and we could get orange juice for later. Yeah, for right now, do you want water or Snapple? Well, I want orange juice and I want us to run to the store right now. I get it, because you want your orange juice right now. Yeah, I get it. Orange juice is delicious. Stay with empathy. Orange juice is delicious and you really want orange juice right now. And it is so disappointing that we can't have orange juice right now. Isn't that a bummer? I'm so sorry, honey. You don't have to have. Okay, stay with empathy. Okay. All right, moving on. Avoid open-ended questions, because these can be really difficult to process, and anything that's difficult to process or understand can create anxiety. For instance, what do you want for breakfast? That's an open-ended question. Not only does she think, well, anything that I say is an option. I'd like French toast with sausage, please. Right? Well, honey, we don't have French. You just walked yourself into, no, we don't have French toast, right? Now you've got a problem. So avoid those open-ended questions. What do you want for breakfast? Eggs or cereal? Oh, eggs. Okay. So do you want your eggs scrambled or fried? Right? Always going to preferred choices. Your preferred choices. Do avoid things that are ambiguous. Like, we'll see. Can we go to Disneyland today? We'll see. Maybe later, because that's no bueno. If you don't know something, then just say, I don't know. As soon as I know, I'll let you know, honey. I promise. Avoid hurrying with your words. Instead, use music, games to motivate. But using your words to hurry her along, generally for most people with the syndrome, really butts up against that oppositionalism. If you want her to hurry, she's going to show you how slowly she can go. And like most people with Prader-Willi syndrome, she's probably very slow moving anyway. So you want to allow lots of time for her to actually move, but also to process what you're asking her to do or what you're talking about doing. The brain, she does have some obsessive compulsive tendencies, right? Obsessively collecting, hoarding baby dolls and carriages and whatnot. So if these obsessive thoughts or behaviors don't interfere with the flow of the day for her or anybody else, then who cares? Ignore it. Doesn't matter. But if it does, then your preferred choices and lots of empathy may be a way to help reduce or manage this excessive collecting or hoarding, right? So I get it. 150 baby dolls is awesome to have in your collection, but you can't take them all to the park, right? So do you want to take, I don't know, 3 or 5 to the park? Right? So then you just keep coming back to that. If she has a history of stealing, and I don't know that she does, other than stealing food, you know, out of anywhere, then you may want to introduce her diagnosis to the neighbors, even to the local police department, so that they have her on record that this is somebody who has Prader-Willi syndrome, and how to manage that. Medication is, most people with the syndrome are on boatloads of medication that actually don't help a lot of things. Disguise your nose is our next intervention. Anything that looks, sounds, or smells like a frustrator could lead to a behavior problem. And the word no and the word but are natural frustrators. So use them sparingly and very little, and disguise them whenever you can, right? So if she says, I want to go outside, you're not going to say, no, it's raining, but I want to go outside. What you're going to say is something like, you want to go outside? Me too. Boy, it sure looks fun out there. I can't wait till we can go outside, till it stops raining, right? Do you think it's going to rain all day long? Gosh, my goodness. Or, hey, as soon as we get our stuff done, let's go outside. Yeah, first we'll get our stuff done, then let's go outside. So that you put parameters on when you're going outside without ever using the word no, we're not going out now. Use empathy, be gently and compassionately, though, unswerving. If you're giving a boundary, you've got to stick to that boundary, but just give a boundary without saying the word no. Use that broken record technique. Yes, as soon as we get our stuff done, let's go outside. Yes, as soon as we get our stuff done, let's go outside. But I want to go out now. Me too. And as soon as we get our stuff done, we'll go outside. Schedule non-preferred tasks or activities before preferred tasks or activities, right? So as soon as we work out, then we have lunch. As soon as we do our physical activity, then we'll have our snack. So keep the individual thinking. You want her to be thinking, because if she's feeling, she is not cathartically getting that out of her system. She's probably going to be winding the feeling deeper and more fully and feeling it more in her body. So we want to get her out of the feeling as quickly as possible and into her head thinking about potential options. So what do you think we could do about that? Do you think we could do X, or do you think we could do Y? Right? What options do you have? Do you think we could, right? So you want to keep her thinking. Our next intervention, allow for the possibility of her rightness. As we said before, most people with Prader-Willi syndrome have a strong need to be right at all times and at all costs. So disagreements about things can quickly turn into power struggles that have a life or death feel to them, because to her, being wrong feels deathly intolerable. Okay. And if you're not saying you're right, then she gets the experience of she's wrong. And that is no bueno. So allow for the possibility of her rightness to avoid power struggles, right? So if you're talking about la la la, what a beautiful day it is, the sky is so blue, And she says, no, it's not, it's yellow. What do you care? Right? Oh, you might be right. Well, interesting thought. You see yellow in there. I never saw yellow in there before. Well, isn't that interesting? I like how you think. Now, you're not going to be doing, you might be right, if you're trying to teach her some safety issue. When we talk about teaching stuff to teachers, we're not going to say, you know, you might say you might be right if you're trying to teach her that 2 + 2 is 4, and she says, no, it's not, it's 5. You're not going to say you might be right, but you may then now pull out your, well, isn't that interesting? You think 2 + 2 is 5, and I'm pretty sure 2 + 2 is 4. Huh. Wonder why you think that. And then stop talking. When you stop talking, it actually paradoxically allows her brain to unwrap around her need to be right that 2 + 2 is 5. Okay. Anticipate that she's going to deny guilt or she's going to lie to get out of trouble. Okay, that's just the symptom of the syndrome. So if she's saying, don't blame me, don't blame me. I'm not blaming you. Yes, you are. No, I'm not. Now you're in a power struggle. So if you're kind of noticing you're in a power struggle, then you just say, honey, I heard you. I get it. You don't want me to blame you. I heard you. Now you're done. And then don't say another word. Many people with the syndrome believe they should already know something that they've never been taught before, right? So it's maybe very helpful for you to teach something as if you believe they already know it. For example, if you're trying to teach a new skill like hanging up their coat, right? So you know how to hang up your coat, right? You put one shoulder on the hanger and then you put the other shoulder on the hanger, right? And then you know how to do that. Good job. So teach as if you know. Do role model that it is okay to make a mistake. Most people, again, can't say, oh, I goofed. Oh, I was wrong. They just can't do it. So if you can kind of role model, oh my gosh, I goofed. Oh, what a bummer, I goofed. It may not be that she ever says she did. And even if she does, and you fall over on your chair because she said, oh my gosh, I was wrong, I goofed, that doesn't mean she's going to admit to goofing again in the future. But you've opened the door to make it more possible for her to accept the humanness of her having made a goof.
Mm-hmm.
Our next intervention, use her egocentrism to your advantage. Because for most people with Prader-Willi syndrome, it's all about them.
Mm-hmm.
So the egocentricity that is hardwired into Prader-Willi syndrome looks like self-centeredness, egocentrism. She could love you to pieces, staff. You could be her favorite staff person, but if it comes down to her getting what she wants or what she needs, she's not going to care about your feelings. She's going to want what she wants. And most people with the syndrome generally think about themselves first and foremost. So use that to your advantage to increase her cooperation. So you really probably aren't going to get anywhere if you say, hey, if we don't hurry, housemate Johnny's going to be late to his appointment. Because she might love Johnny to pieces, but she's probably going to care less whether he's late to his appointment. But if you say something like, hey, if we get Johnny to his appointment on time, we'll have time to come home and watch a movie. Now she's motivated to get Johnny to his appointment on time. So use that to your advantage.
Mm-hmm.
Don't say your yelling is disturbing the other residents or at the workplace or the neighbors around us, right? Don't say that, because if she's yelling, she's advocating for what she wants. She's just advocating in totally inappropriate ways, but she's advocating. And so she's not going to stop advocating until she feels that you've heard her, right? Or until she knows that the boundary is set, and no matter how much yelling she does, she's not going to get what she wants. So do say something like, I hear you want XYZ. or I can see that this was an example in there, in your BIP. I see that you're really upset. So as soon as you're calm, we can talk about what you want. If that works for her, great. I think that language needs to be tightened up even more. When you speak softer or even softly and calm your body, then we can talk more about what you want. Teach her the other person's perspective. Again, that egocentrism is an executive functioning deficit. She neurologically can't really think about the other person's perspective. So as best we can, we want to teach this skill, and to the extent she's able to learn it and incorporate it. So some of the ways we do that is, what do you think they're thinking? What do you think they meant by that? And then teach her on purpose or what was that, on purpose or accident? A lot of people with the syndrome think that things that happen to them on purpose. So if somebody left something out, she tripped over it, she might think that person was purposely trying to make her trip. So you've got to teach the differences between those things. Using things like, hey, now that I can't remember how old she is, 48?
54.
54. I was going to say 53 the first time.
Okay.
Now that you're 54, 53, 54, I wonder if you're mature enough to learn how to do your own laundry. Just pulling that out of the air. I'm not sure though. Do you think you're mature enough to start learning your own laundry? And most people with the syndrome want to be seen as mature and grown up. So they'll kind of go with, yes, I am. And so now you've got her buy-in to start learning that new skill. So before we go to the next intervention, hands up, go for it.
Yeah, Lisa. About the egocentric thinking, staff are actually letting her win every time there's games or activities. So letting her win, and those are really helps with her participation, with her engaging activities. So staff knows that if there's they're playing a game, she has to win. So what can you say about that?
Well, I say so what you're saying is that she can't tolerate losing.
Yes.
And that's kind of along the ways of, I can't tolerate being wrong, not having done it perfectly. I can't tolerate not making all the moves that would make me have been the winner, because then that means I made the wrong moves, right? If letting her, and so she doesn't have the maturity to be able to be a good loser. If that's what you're seeing, and it's fine, it's not, and that when she wins every single time, it's not causing problems, then I say keep doing that, because what you're dealing with is somebody who doesn't have the maturity to lose, right? And at 53, 54 years old, I don't think one of the goals on her behavior plan is to learn to be a better loser, right? If that was a goal, then this would be a whole different answer. But I don't think that's an appropriate goal for her. So
yeah,
let her win.
Yes, that's what
let her win.
Yes,
it is not going to hurt her at this stage in her life for you to win, to teach her how to be a better winner. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah. Wanted to share also that actually when a nurse is trying to check her vital signs, they're having like a contest. So who's gonna be the right number? And doing actually you you get more of her cooperation with taking meds and having her vital signs checked by having that. So and she always, of course, win the what number she gives, and the
I
nurse would
love
know.
that.
Yes. So the nurse would say, "Hey, your blood pressure today is gonna be 130/70," and of course her blood pressures are lower, always lower than that, and she wins because you're gonna give the right number. So
I love it.
just
I
sharing.
love it. Now, the
Yeah.
argument that we often hear is, but you're teaching her to be a spoiled brat. You're giving in to her,
Okay.
right? I don't agree with that. This is a developmentally disabled adult
Mhm.
who doesn't have the capacity for that kind of maturity. And so we don't teach a 1.5-year-old to lose better by never letting her win, or by she's always going to be perpetually incapable of being able to be a good loser.
Mhm.
So let it go.
Yes.
I have another example real quick. The bean bags, bean bags into the box, So she was playing and she didn't get them all, but I said, okay, well, don't worry, we got all day. We'll just go get those ones that didn't make it, and you continue. But even her personal best, different games that we have, that she's mostly playing against herself sometimes, and it's like, what's your personal best this time, and
Yeah.
when it's not necessarily you're playing against someone, it teaches her that a little bit.
Yes. Good. Good. Now, if you were talking about she got 3 bean bags in and she says, I got 27 bean bags in.
Yeah.
You're not going to agree, oh yes, you got 27 beanbag chair in, right? You're not
No.
going to do that, because now what you're doing is you're going down the road of confirming with her that this isn't reality,
Right.
right? So what
No.
I would do is I would reframe it as, you really wanted to be a winner with the beanbags today, huh? Yeah. Yeah, you really wanted to get those 27 in. You can even use the same number. Some people with Prader-Willi syndrome will say, I did it. No, Lisa, I did it. I say, oh, okay, well, this is really important to you. Good job. And that's all I'll say. And I'll leave the conversation.
Yeah, but we just picked up the ones on the floor and did let her win in a way, let her get them all in. We had
Yeah.
time. So she just did it till she got them all in.
Perfect.
Yeah.
This is the developmentally disabled person. And it gets really hard because some people with the syndrome are very bright and very competent in certain areas. So it makes you think that they're competent at the same level in other areas in maturity. And it isn't that way. Okay, good. We're coming down the pike here, you guys. Motivate externally is our next intervention, right? Most people with Prader-Willi syndrome have very low internal motivation. She doesn't keep her room clean because she looks around and says, holy moly, there's a lot of clutter in here and it makes me feel nervous and I can't really walk safely in my room. She's not going to clean her room because of that. She's going to clean her room because you say, holy moly, there's a lot of clutter in here and it's not safe for you. And isn't it wonderful for you when you've cleaned your room, right? So using verbal praise, encouragement, high five, special time earned with somebody, a privilege to be a special helper that she gets to earn, and certainly any of the token, the reward systems that you would use, earning points to get another baby doll, right? Anticipate alongside her. So if you're going for a walk, of course you're going to go with her, but even in the backyard, go with her. I don't know what your setting looks like, but don't just go send her off to do some physical activity. Do it with her. Don't just go off to have her to color or whatnot. Do it with her. You may be already doing that anyway. If you have trouble with getting her to come with you, let me know and we'll come back to this. Use the lead like a mama duck strategy. Never use food as a motivator, incentive, reward, or punishment. Again, I can't emphasize this enough because it will totally backfire on you. Do remember that executive functioning deficits are very common. So she's going to need help for the rest of her life with planning, prioritizing, organizing, problem solving, managing herself, monitoring herself, paying attention, beginning, ending, tasks, meeting deadlines, etc. Common sense out the window. She doesn't have it. Guiding her to conclusions rather than problem solving for her, so that we're maximizing her problem solving skills. Well, what a bummer. Do you think we could do this or this? So that you're helping her problem solve without getting locked into the oppositional thinking, right? Usually, if you give two choices, she's going to pick one. But if you give one choice, that won't work. That won't work. That won't work. And do remain vigilant against, for her own safety, against her delusional grandiosity. So if you're going to a public pool and you ask her, well, and your new staff, and you say, well, can you swim, honey? And she says, oh, yes, I'm a great swimmer. I got Special Olympics medals for swimming. Don't think you can, read a book, because she may sink to the bottom of the pool while she absolutely is convinced she's the best swimmer. Our final intervention is using transition prompts to increase her flexibility. Pardon me. Many people with Prader-Willi syndrome have attention deficits. At the same time, they often exhibit hyper-focus on what they're doing in the moment. And that makes it really difficult to transition from one activity to the next activity. And so that makes it really difficult to stop what she's doing, even if the next thing you're going to be doing is a preferred activity for her. Okay. So we use those limited preferred choices. Do you want to stop in 3 minutes or 5 minutes? Okay, she's going to pick 5 minutes. Then you use transition prompts. Okay, 5 minutes, and then we'll start moving to the next activity. Okay, 3 minutes. Why don't you start putting your crayons away or markers away? Okay, 2 minutes. Your marker should be put away. Start putting up the paper. Okay, and then praise, praise, praise when she's finished the activity and she's moving along to get ready. And again, provide lots and lots of empathy when she doesn't progress along, and let her know how really hard it is to stop. You understand, it's really hard to stop. And you did choose 5 minutes to stop, and it's time to stop. What a bummer, it's time to stop, right? Now, this isn't magic sprinkle dust words that will help her stop in the moment. Oh, yes, you're right, it is hard. I'll stop right now. These are these are boundaries we want to put in place with your words, making those in the beginning. We missed the environmental. Your words may be argued with, but put the boundaries on the preferred choice stop times, right? Transitioning times with a timer, whether it's on the kitchen clock or your phone, or a timer that's visual timer. Use timers, visual prompts to help you with transitions, or to help her with transitions, because she's going to argue with your words, but she's far less likely to argue with a timer that goes off. So just the typical final thoughts that we have, that you are the professional provider. So you are absolutely critical to the health, safety, and overall quality of life of this resident who's in your care. And everybody has a bad day now and again, including people with Prader-Willi syndrome. So that even if you do every one of these interventions brilliantly, that doesn't mean that everything is going to be successful all of the time. That's just Prader-Willi syndrome. No matter what, people with the syndrome are going to have challenges with managing their behavior. That's just life. But when you incorporate the strategies that you've learned here today including the strategies we didn't cover today, the environmental basics, and incorporating those into knowing the physiology of this disorder, then you're going to create an environment that inspires greater overall cooperation and increased fun amongst this resident, all the residents, and your staff, and decreased stressors for everybody. So on behalf of your resident, thank you. And my contact information is in your packet. You can email me at any time, pick up the phone and call me. They'll get you to me. And now I'm going to take it off share so we can answer all the rest of your questions.
So, yeah, anybody has questions?
I just want to say thank you so much. I mean, you are so unbelievable, that's a wealth of information, and you just seem so nice. And that you even have the background that you have is just so wonderful. I appreciate everything I learned. I'm going to use it for some stuff I have at home too. And thank you.
No, thank you for your kind words. That's very nice. Thank you. Thank you.
So I just wanted to present one incident, and I would like to hear your comments, Lisa.
Sure.
So yeah, so there's an incident where our client was where we're outside. We came from a clinic appointment, and then she was getting into the van, but then she became incontinent and got wet. And then when she got into the van, but even before that was given a choice, because she said, "Oh, I need to pee." So she was given a choice if she wanted to go back to the building and use the bathroom. And then she said, "Oh no, I think I'm just gonna go because I'm wearing the diaper. I'm just gonna go." So she did, and she got wet. And then when she was in the van, she started screaming. And
Screaming?
she was, yes, she was screaming, "I don't want to go." She was supposed to go to another activity, and she said, "I don't want to go anymore. I want to, she was just screaming because of course she got wet. And then I gave a choice of maybe you could change, you can go to the bathroom, change, or we could change in the class that you're gonna go. But then she just started screaming and didn't want to do anything. She wanted to get out of the van. I said, "You're here inside the van now. You're in a safer area." So we just kept her there, but she was screaming for like an hour.
Yikes.
And then, yeah. And then we can't do anything. We don't want to drive her being not safely secured. She's in a wheelchair. And we just, stayed and make sure that she's not getting out of the van. She tried, but of course we said, "Okay, Tracy, we need to keep you here inside the van." So in a way, the screaming lasted for an hour. And we just there waiting for her to stop because she doesn't want me to drive. She doesn't want me to do anything. And she wanted to get out of the van. So that behavior, did not happen once. It happened before. And of course, I was being empathetic. I know you're frustrated about being wet. But we could change. There's a choice. We could go to this, but it just did not work that time.
So the empathy piece is a standalone. Just a standalone. It's not followed by but ever.
Mm-hmm.
Because but is a frustrator and it takes away everything that happened before it.
Mm.
Right? I will give you this piece of chocolate, but you have to do X and Y. All I hear is, I'm not going to get my chocolate, right? All you hear is you're not going to get your chocolate. So what do you think? So what we have to go back to is, one, I was on one track with you all the way, Rosalind, when you said, until you said, this behavior has happened again. And then I thought, oh, okay, so maybe there's something else going on. But let's go down the first track. So she says, oh, I have to pee along the way to the van. So you're giving her choices. Do you want to stop here and go to the bathroom? Or do you just want to pee in your diaper?
Mhm.
Right? And then she decided, I'll pee in my diaper. Okay, you can do that. But it leaked out, is my guess.
Yes.
And she got all wet.
Yes.
So what
And-
so go ahead.
Can I just say what the key word was, Rosalind, when she told Kelly, she said, I'm going to give it a chance.
Oh,
So she was going to give it a chance to make sure, to maybe that the pads would hold it.
And it didn't.
And it didn't. So
No.
that's where the big thing is.
Yes. And so now, so that kind of makes sense, doesn't it? It kind of makes sense. Now she's expressing all of this. Oh no, I thought it would work and it
Mhm.
isn't working. Oh my God. So now she's saying, I don't want to go to my next event because I'm all soiled and wet. Well, that's a perfectly reasonable thing, isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah. And so,
Yeah.
but she's not saying it. We have to say it for her. Oh no, you took a chance and it didn't work. What a horrible disappointment. We've got to fix that before you. Of course, you don't want to go to your next event. You're sopping wet. So empathy
Mhm.
is even more specific to the point. It's taking the words you think she's thinking and breaking them down and saying them out loud with her, because she can't say it. She's thinking it, oh no, and she's reacting to it, but she's not articulating it. I don't want to go to my next activity, period. Right? I don't want to go. I don't want to go. I don't want to go. Why? Because I'm sopping wet and I can't go somewhere sopping wet, which is a perfectly reasonable thing. Yeah. So in that moment, we've got to stay with it. Oh my gosh, you're sopping wet. You thought you'd take a chance and it didn't work and now you're wet. What do you think we could do about that? We want to get her thinking. What do you think we could do about that? Do you want to go? I don't know if you have a change of clothes with you, right? Do you want to go back in and change up there? Or do you want to go home and change up or go to the class and change up, so that she is now empowered and she has to be thinking how she wants to manage it.
I gave her that. Yeah, I gave her those choices, but it just didn't work that time.
I
It
think
was just
it might have been overwhelming, right? But I want you to, we think we're doing empathy. That I'm guilty of this all the time. I think I'm doing empathy, but really what I'm doing is trying to move her to problem solving. I'm moving somebody to problem solving while I think I'm doing empathy. And empathy is not problem solving. Empathy is the world stops and we are focused on this horribleness that is going on now. If you try to make problem solving in empathy, it'll backfire on you all the time, because all she hears you saying is, we just got to fix this. And she's stuck in the horribleness of what's happening to her. Right?
So we shouldn't have mentioned the choices.
I think you mentioned the choices. I think where I mean, I wasn't there, so what do I know? I'm just spitballing with you, but I think it was not staying with long enough how horrible this is. This is terrible. You thought you could make it and it wouldn't leak, and now it's leaked. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Oh, this is terrible. And of course you don't want to go to your next outing because you're sopping wet. Oh my gosh, honey, I'm so sorry. Oh, this is awful. What do you think we could do about it? Even not even that I went so fast, right? Not until you see her coming down. Yes, most of the time crying is when we stop empathizing, and then we can go into problem solving.
Okay.
And what did she choose?
I'm so
She
sorry.
chose to scream.
She
did
did not.
choose the options. It's like there were 3 options and there really, she didn't.
I gave 2 options to go back to the building to change
Mm-hmm.
or to change into the class, but she did not make a choice. She just continued screaming.
Yeah, I think that's where so that's where I would go with this one, is we just needed to stay with empathy more. Now, that's where I was going the first. Now, when you say, and it's happened before, now I start thinking, is this a way to avoid going to where she was supposed to go?
She loves going there.
Okay,
Loves- Yeah.
okay, then that's not it. But if it's happened before, I mean, accidents happen. Incontinence is unfortunately, a very common symptom in Prader-Willi syndrome. It just is. And it's a lot more common than anybody has thought before. So, but some people use incontinence as a behavior. This doesn't sound like that setting. I think this was a simple, I didn't get empathied enough, and I'm overwhelmed, and I'm just stuck in my feelings, and I'm screaming because I'm overwhelmed with how embarrassing this is, or how I wanted to wear these pants, and now I'm going to have to show up in another pair of pants, right? To go more with empathy.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. The shame that she had, because she's been very continent, and during that time was just frustrating for her.
Yep.
To get wet.
Yeah. We have I mean, we think, what are you crying for? You can just go change your clothes. But we don't really have access to, and she's not verbalizing, but I picked this outfit out today. I'm making this up. What do I know? But I picked out this outfit because I wanted to wear it to day program. And now everything is wrong because I messed it up, and right. And we won't know that until or unless, we may never know it, but until or unless we stay with empathy. Oh, honey, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. This is terrible. The pants that you're wearing are all wet. Of course you can't go to day pro. And then she may be able to share more thoughts with you, but to stay with empathy.
Yeah.
It was a wonderful
always,
her Halloween costume. It was awesome.
It's always difficult during that instance or the time, Lisa, because she does not hear you anymore. The screaming is just intense every time there's behavior. Yeah,
I get it. I get it. It's like my dog. You can't. Nothing happens. The more you speak a little more quietly. I'm so sorry, honey. As soon as you're able to breathe a little bit, we can talk more about how we can fix this. This is just terrible. Sometimes that can help, right? I actually think going with her, this is terrible. This is the worst possible thing that could happen. This is awful. I think that can get through when somebody's screaming. But otherwise, you roll the windows up and you just, if you can't figure it out, you do what you did.
Yeah.
But empathy.
Yes, we waited until she calmed down, but yes, a lot of practice with empathy. I
Yeah.
agree.
But what
Now-
if she's outside the bus and she starts making a scene? What do we do then?
Say again, what if she what?
What if she's outside the bus and she's like in a crowd making a big scene and maybe gonna get out of her chair and stuff? That stuff is scary for me.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
we do.
yeah. So again, it all kind of depends on why she's doing what she's doing. But if you can use empathy and before she gets riled up, right? Then you
Yeah.
avoid that problem altogether. So again, empathy, empathy, empathy. And if you don't know what's going on, you can guess at it. Are you worried about this? Are you concerned about that? Well, I'm just not getting it, am I? I really want to get it, and I'm not understanding what's so upsetting. This is awful that I'm not understanding what's so upsetting. I'm so sorry. This is terrible.
Sometimes she doesn't listen anymore. She's just not listening.
Yeah. Yeah. So there are, I don't know, does she strip off naked in public?
Yes.
Yeah. So there lots of people will do that. A certain segment of people will do that. And I suggest you carry a big blanket with you.
Or a curtains kind of thing, like a, because if she'll keep taking it off, you could do something outside of her boundary to make a little,
Yeah, not to give the blanket to her, right?
Oh,
She'll
I see yes, yeah,
hold
kind
it
of
up as a shield.
Yeah. Yep.
One, so she's not getting the feedback of seeing other people looking at her.
Yep.
And so that you're protecting her privacy.
That's right. A visual block. We call that, one of my other guys had that one time. We had to do a visual block, was a thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
It works beautifully in Japan. They do it with accidents alongside of the road. They visually block it and traffic doesn't stop for, rubbernecking.
Oh, interesting. We got to get lightweight something lightweight to use. Yeah.
Yeah, lightweight, not yes, exactly. Big sheet.
Yep.
Yep. Yep.
Thank you, Lisa.
We're at time.
All right.
We are at time. So I will get the recording off to you, Rosalind. You can share it with whomever you deem appropriate. I will look for your post test. Thank you. We'll put your name on that so you are author of it.
Okay.
Okay. And anytime you want to brainstorm any particular other settings and scenarios, always happy to do that. Okay.
Great.
Okay, guys.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you.
Lisa.
Thanks. Good work. Good work today.
Halloween. Bye.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. Have fun.
Yeah, thank you again. Thank
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Always good to have you on here, Lisa. Appreciate it.
Ditto, Lisa.